Welcome back to another discussion about the Africa, Kenya, East Africa, and also the global world. It's about politics, it's about sociology. It is about all that matters to all of us in terms of even the economic systems of Africa and also global world. So today I want us to focus on the interview on Al Jazeera where President Ruto was interviewed, and a lot was said, and it's also discussed. It also focused on the pertinent issues, the pertinent contemporary issues that are affecting Kenya in particular. So, the things that they were discussing, or the interview was entailing about the protests. Remember, in Kenya, 2024, 2025, also we had a lot of protests across Kenya because people were protesting about so many issues such as the misappropriation of funds, opulence, saying that it was the form of system that is being curtailed in Kenya is dictatorship, where people went to the streets also to fight for the people who had been maybe abducted, and also people after going to the streets, now the population has come down and is now listening. The ears are now doing more work than the actions. So the things that I was discussing about, the one of them was he was saying that those people who had been abducted should go to the authorities and make a report, a statement about the abduction. Recently, we had two Kenyans who had been abducted in Uganda, and it was approved by President Yoweri Museveni that these people had been held in Kominkado for 39 days, and they came out to the media and reported and made some statements whereby they were saying that they had been held for 39 days without food, and also they were being tortured, and their rights were not that well given to them. And President was also saying that the people who had been abducted should also go to go and then report and make a very, very brief reports to the authorities. And we've seen that so many people have gone to the various forms of administration in Kenya. Also, it was insisted in the interview that the things that the people were dictating was corruption. Remember, corruption has been rampant in Kenya. And President Ruto defended himself and also said that he signed the conflict of interest bill, which was gonna stop corruption in Kenya. So he also touched on the current state of affairs of Tanzania, whereby President Samia Suluhu had got 98%, over 96% win in the general elections. And he said that in current democracies, it is very, very difficult for a president to get 96%. It is normally 50 plus 1 votes at the general elections. So it raises a lot of it raises an eyebrow, whereby we also talked about the current economy. Yeah, the current economy. He said that he had reduced the current food prices. So this is what he had to say in the interview. Watch.
President